4. Oh, we live. It's working in this. All right. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're officially starting. This is Dynasty, the podcast show. I am your host, Ira Bush. Thank y'all for tuning in. Today we're gonna go. Usually I like to just be, have a little fun. We're gonna, I got this. It was an entertaining day yesterday for me. I probably celebrated early for my birthday because I don't really do much. So I'm glad I stepped out. Got to watch some of my favorite shows and, chilled at the house for majority of the day after I did the show. So it was a chill day. I enjoyed it. I went to bed about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So, I got my rest though. It wasn't, it's a Saturday and I'm still here and I'm on time. I don't drink, so it's not like a hangover or nothing, but I didn't eat yet. I don't know what I'm eating. I'm gonna watch the game. It's still gonna be a pretty chill day. The WNBA got a big game on 3 o'clock. The Los Angeles Aces. I'm gonna watch that game. Get some, fries and get hamburger fries, something. Chill. Watch the game, and I think probably watch the baseball game today. I think one of the games I'm telling them tuning in. I'm gonna go to the little place around. Chills, I always step in somewhere around here, a little sports bar. Watch the game, and tomorrow is Sunday. We're gonna pretty much have a good day, good weekend, pretty chill this weekend. I'm excited. Basketball starts Monday officially. I get to practice. I gotta send an email out to my players and their parents. I forgot to do that yesterday, so I'm gonna do that. And probably try to give them a call before it get too late. Probably do that in the evening. Probably or tomorrow might be better. Everybody will be home. And, be Sunday. It'll be Sunday family day. So I'm gonna do it Sunday. Send it out early in the morning because I'm gonna be chilling today. I wanted to go to the beach. It was pretty hot today. So other than that, that's pretty much it. I just want to say I'm thankful, I'm grateful. I respect everybody who tuning in. I respect everybody who give me a chance to, bring y'all real news, real up-to-date information. I'm not going to go indulge in, they had a little speech going on the jet. It's not really extra going on in the community and city that I need to really go in depth about. Personally, I gotta go handle what I'm doing. I told y'all what happened at the West Palm Beach. I didn't get to speak, but I put my concern in, so they didn't. I don't know if they reached back out or not. That's all I could do. That was the last one of the year. It's probably gonna be stuff throughout the summer, but for Palm Beach County, their stuff is over. I'm going to probably go to a couple in June in Broward, and like I said, June 10th is a big one for me personally. I'm gonna be there. I'm probably be able to speak in public, so it's big for my child, and make sure they properly are doing what they're supposed to do. She's going to middle school, so that's all it. That's my nano politics and community for me, and me being a coach and my nephew from the coop and small little stuff like that, everyday life. That's what it is. It's not nothing I haven't been doing. So we're just getting back on track full time with it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna go and finish up these executive orders in May. We got about 3 or 4 left that I gotta read. I might have missed 1 or 2, but that's not, some of them was very repetitive, and somebody got little creaks and quirks of how they want to pronunciate the executive order that they put in front of the president. So we're gonna go through the rest of them. They seem pretty interesting. We're gonna break them down. Like I said, this week was basically focused on breaking down the executive orders. I think for the majority of the part, we did a great job of doing that. I think people got real understanding and gist of what they're trying to do, and don't say I didn't inform you as we the people. Like, I put the information out there. I read the purpose of the executive order that they said, and I gave you my opinion of what should get passed or Yeah, and out of the 18, it's probably a solid 3 to 5 that even should be considered any law, and some of them were already just in acts and passed through. Just people forgot what it was. I really want y'all to remember about that veterans one and the tariff one is very important because it had to do with something that started all the way probably in the 1950s, probably during Prohibition, it just leading up to that point in the 1950s. Then it trickled down all the way down to the Vietnam War, and then we had the drugs, war on drugs after that in the 80s, because it said 78 from the 80s to the 90s, late 80s. It was heavy enforcement on trying to, the drugs that they imported. They was going after collecting money, collecting the drugs that they put on the streets. So we can get in depth on that stuff. That's going to be stuff that it's just trying to they try to do it in a very flamboyant and how you say I won't say what's the word I'm looking for, like they don't want people to really know. It's not flamboyant means everybody knows. I'm talking about like I had the word in my head, but it slipped my mind. But we're gonna move on. Let's read these executive orders and break them down. And this one was signed. We're gonna start with the for improving safety, promote domestic protection critical in the test by media. Establishments of religious liberty and commissions. Now, the purpose of this policy, it shall be the policy of the executive branch to rigorously enforce the historic and robust protection for religious liberty enshrined in federal law. The founders envisioned a nation in which religious voices and views are an integral and vibrant public square of human flourishing, in which religious people and institutions are free to practice their faith without fear of discrimination and hostility from the government. Indeed, the roots of religious liberty stretch back to the early settlers for fled religious persecutions in Europe, seeking a new world where they could choose to follow and practice their faith without interference from the government. The principle of religious and liberty were enshrined in American law and First Amendment and Constitution in 1791. Since that time, the Constitution has protected the fundamental right to the religious liberty as Americans' first freedom. During my first term, meaning the president, I issued Executive Order 13798. Now, we're going to read that after we finish reading this. Of May 4th, 2017, promoting free speech and religious liberty. Pursuant to the order, an Attorney General issued a memorandum for all executive departments and agencies titled Federal Law Protections for Religious Liberty on October 6, 2017. The Supreme Court has also continued to vindicate the founders' commitment to religious liberty, including giving the effect and principle that religious voices should be welcome of an equal bias in public square. In recent years, federal, state, and local policies that have threatened America's unique and beautiful tradition of religious liberty. These policies attempt to infringe upon long-standing, that's a good word to give y'all the definition from that. That's very key in government. Long-standing conscience protections and prevent parents from sending their children to religious schools, threaten loss of funding, or denial of non-profit tax status and faith-based entities, and the single out religious groups and institutions for exclusion for government programs. Some opponents of religious liberty would have religion entirely from public life. Others characterize religious liberty as inconsistent with civil rights despite religious vital roles in abolishing of slavery, the passage of federal civil rights laws and provisions in this indispensable social and educational and health services. President Ronald Reagan reminded us that freedom is never more of a generation away from extinction. Americans need to reacquainted with the nation's superb experiment religious freedom in order to preserve it against emerging threats. Therefore, federal government will promote citizens' pride in our foundation history, identifying emerging threats and religious liberty, uphold the federal laws, and protect the citizens from full participation of pluralistic democracy and protect the free exercise of religion. Now, the positive thing about this is they say religion the whole time. They do not say a specific religion. Now, if you want to go off based off what America's religion that they tote out and promote in the government form is Christianity and Catholic. That's the main ones that they told out as American. So they can't really say Catholic anymore because it was a big scheme about them raping little boys and girls. It was one of if you're a football player, you remember the Penn State camp scandal. If you're from East Coast and the South, you remember it was national news when you remember when the Pope scandals out there in New York about them raping little boys and having these sex brings, and it still goes on in a more sophisticated way, but we only could do so much. And I'm pretty sure like they didn't want to stop that sex ring, pedophile ring in New York. They made a lot of money off trafficking the through religion, and that's in the new age. What they how they sophisticated and they got caught up. Y'all remember the Jared Sandusky guy when he got caught up, and it ruined Joe Paterno's legacy and probably made him die early, ruined his family. How they kept the blind eye. It happened so many times. He was getting caught in the showers with the little boys and during their camps and stuff like that, and the way white America and the way America has swept these things under the rug and want us to go with religion. And I also discussed to y'all about how when you go search the history of Christianity in the Bible and the Catholic Church, you will find that all that stuff that I just was saying is based off, like they said, in this slavery. They did it for mental control and to keep people once they freed them, or they were about to free them, they was getting them, had their own little black church, and then they'll still go out here and whoever had the most soul, which is the mother and the young daughters, they'll grab them and put them in the house and practice slave, sex, having sex with their slaves and keeping them dividing the black family before they even let them completely free, because they still would have been dirt poor once they were freed. And they had to figure out a way of providing and gaining their self. So they had to make some kind of relation, some kind of sacrifice before they even let them. And that's what was instilled in the black community. And they definitely put that book down their throat so they remember who gave them that book. But if you go even deeper into the history of the world, that book was bastardized into white supremacists. And then it was there's more information out there that said the people that they're mocking in these books were the people that look like me and look like they're slaves. So I can't give you, there's so much history behind that. I can't give it all to you in this short period of time, just giving you the basic parameters behind what they're talking about. Now, if you want to go into depth when Malcolm X and he turned into a Muslim and the Nation of Islam, and he branched off at the end because they all have some kind of ties in with controlling, with the lies and deceit. The Muslim wasn't about, they was still about controlling the strong and the powerful women, mind you, because that's who they had operating. If you see how, the person that was considered Malcolm X's mentor, or the head of the Nation of Islam at the time. If you watch the movie, if you read the book, all that stuff, I actually did a report 5th grade, so I could speak on these things. And I'm not saying I'm like a Malcolm X, like, no, but I read that book and I did it. That was one of the best. That's still one of the best projects I did, and I had, my mom, she helped with the organization of it, but she made me read most of that book, and she really made sure, I already had watched the movie, and that's still one of my favorite movies. Denzel Washington did a great job. Shout out to him. So, you know, hey, but when if you do the history of that, they basically controlled the women, but they wasn't doing the pedophile with the young men like the Catholic was, and it still was basically a female ring. But it's like they gave them a choice. They kind of manipulated it into like, strong men and then strong women, and then they like, if you know the history of, there's more women than females, and the way that they deteriorated sexualizing, making men gay, and it was still, there's less strong men out here in this world than it is strong women. So unfortunately, I'm not on that weak pedal. The weak small. I'm on the other side, so we got to get that understanding clear. But it's still tough for me because people lie and have a lot of deceit in them. So people like me might get overlooked for the person that looked better than for the person that got the more money. You know how that go in the world. That's just how it is. I can't sell out like other people can. I won't sell out. You know what I'm saying? I'll speak. I talk very honest. I don't have no, I don't have to, sugarcoat nothing that I've done ever. So, I'm in my 30s. I'm not gonna shortcome on that tip, man. One thing my father instilled in me is just being completely honest. And same thing based on my mom. She taught me how to like not give information out, but but she's definitely an honest person. So, unless she asks, I don't have to give you nothing. So that's one thing she showed me. And that's a female trait. You don't have, that's how you get information. So, I was taught by both. My dad didn't say much. So when he spoke, he only spoke the truth. So he never sugarcoated nothing. That's one thing I do know. So he didn't talk a lot unless he was family, and he was at work and he was being the host and the manager of whatever he was doing at the time. He never, people didn't tell him what to do at the work neither, so he didn't have to say nothing unless he wanted to. So that's pretty much it. Now, moving on, we're going to, like I said, it was a keyword that I want to give you the definition of, and I'm going to read the executive order that he so highlighted in this executive order. So we're going to read that. I don't know if it's law or, it was 2017. It might be an executive order that's still going and it's upheld in the courts and all that. So we're going to read that. And let's read, let me give you the definition of, I've seen it. What was the keyword? I like when they give out key government words because people might need to know these words so it don't go over their head. The word was, hold on, I should have highlighted it. It was only one word. Identify. Hey. I'm still here. The screen's still moving. I'm trying to see the word that I should have highlighted. I was moving too fast. Profit is very key in politics. Just for the people who like really are interested in it. I want y'all to like get some information from me for real when y'all, just even if it's a definition or something, that's very key. Dang, I can't even see where it's at. It was just there. It's gonna take too much time. I hate having dead points in my show. So dang, equal funding. I can't even remember what it was. That's how much they don't use the word, but I know how key it actually is. So Oh, I hate that. Damn, I should have stopped right when I seen it. I hate that. Well, y'all got the word from originally. Hopefully, y'all look it up yourselves. For some reason, I cannot. It's that key. It's that important. So I really wanted to give y'all that definition. I'm really bad. Superb. I don't know what is that. Religious institutions, government programs, religious regime, characteristics, and consistency despite religious rule, provision, educational service, Supreme Court commitment, including welcome to the various. I'm getting very mad about this. I can't even remember the word, but I know I needed to give it to y'all. It's aggravating. But I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's read the other executive order that he put out, and we're gonna read it. It's not that big. This is promoting free speech and religious liberty. This is the executive order that they signed in May 4th, 2017. So, like I said, a lot of this stuff he wants to sound like he's doing something new, the same playbook. I don't know if people thought that he did a good job the first time he got reelected, but we didn't have a supposedly there was not strong competition, and they wanted him to get a chance to you know, to actually make up what he didn't do or finish to complete what he was doing. So he said he's doing a great job. There's a lot of people that are displeased with what he's doing. Some people that's still behind him, whatever that is. Take it what it is. I'm not in between whatever makes sense and whoever taking care of the children and my, my actual beliefs. That's who and it doesn't even matter. He's just a figurehead. A strong, big figurehead that has a lot of power, but you still have to go through the checks and balances. So that's not this the title of president, but you still got to go through these things, and you can't just sign off because you still got to go through the courts. You still got to pass the House, which it is in the Republican Party. So, whatever they say, whatever, they should have a coalition that is pretty strong, but the courts and, the very high ranking servicemen that have to do the hard work when, people make messes, they have a big say in what they got to do and what they want to do. So, that's like I said, 1.5 versus 2 right now. It was very clear, and some of the people jumping ship off that Republican, the billionaires are jumping ship that was in his cabinet. So, and when people like Elon Musk go, it'd be like 10 other people that's going with him. So that's really what happened when that happened. And I ain't gonna talk too much about that. It seemed like it's actually legitimately not trying to mess with dude. People are mad because they figuring out Russia definitely is the op, but it's already done. He on the phone 2 hours with the op. I'm talking about with the army people. Like we don't, how they got their army, they don't really correlate with ours, and they're not really doing business properly. So even in the terms of a soldier or a war, so hey, we're gonna see how that is. I don't know what is he don't want to come to the table as the people who speak for the country, in Russia. And I ain't dishing out. I might want to go visit them when you never know. Or, you know how it go. I won't say what it is. um, but let's continue. It shall be the policy of executive branch of rigorously enforce federal laws robust to protections for religious freedom. The founders envisioned of the nation in which religious voices and views were integral and vibrant public square in which religious people and institutions were free to practice their faith without fear and discrimination, retaliation by the federal government for the reason that the United States Constitution enshrines and protects the fundamental rights of religious liberty and American freedom. and federal law protects the freedom of Americans and their organization to exercise religion and participate fully in the civic life without under interference by federal government and executive branch with the honor and enforce those protections. Now, that pretty much is that was the purpose of this one. This one's very short and sweet. The other one was very, it was 4 paragraphs. This was 1 paragraph. So I guess when he made this one, a lot of people didn't get the understanding that anybody could pick their religion that they want. Doesn't mean that we're going to agree. Doesn't mean that they agreeing with you in America. But when you leave America, you probably have a little bit more freedom to, you can voice it here and then go out there and share how you feel. Because they definitely still on, Catholic and Christianity, whichever one they want to say at the time. You still got to remember the history behind them, though. Like I gave y'all a little information about actually how America was formed with Christianity and Catholic. So you know how that goes. Now, like I said, they basically, they made this is the foundation, and then they put the couch, the furniture, the TV, the cable into the other one. So that was 2017, and this what happened in 2025. So really mad I couldn't get that keyword, but we're gonna go. We got 1 or 2 more of the new one. That was old. So we're gonna go back, get back focused. Shout out to your religion. I'm not, the stuff that I believe. I'm definitely know God is already born. When you born, my belief is not this in no religion. Is that God when your mom is one of the strongest guys in your life. Whatever they talking about is in that book is your mom. You bring life into the world. Your mom did that. Your dad had part in putting the seed and creating life as well. But your mom carried you, birthed you. it's not that many ways of a child being, unless they coming up some new ways to make people that I don't know about. The old normal way is right through the birth canal and boom, a new life. And that's what basically the Bible tell you about being life, prosperity, and, putting greatness in the air. You know what I'm saying? And then it breaks down to the original being and the genetics and DNA, and then so that's who was able to speak in that public forum and write these books, the gifted and the knowledgeable, and the people who before who came first. So that's what these Bibles are based off of. If y'all go travel the world, not United States, you'll figure out who those really were, because they got that old they propaganda of who they think is how God's supposed to look. It's definitely not a man. So and that's what I'm saying. Definitely not, the man. It can be a God that's a man, with a lot of God life in you, and not this and that, because we are advanced civilization now, pretty advanced with technology. So I'm not dissing that. That's rare though. It's very rare. It's very rare that a man can, be very high powered like that. So, I ain't this and that. And they don't need to scientifically try to make nobody be that now. So we ain't going that far. That's going way out the way. That's not what God, that's not the natural ebbs and flows of the world. That caused disruption in the ebbs and flows of the world if you're not who you're supposed to be and you still get put on the pedestal. Because it's definitely somebody that can do your job if you're not doing it properly. That's facts. Now let's continue. I think it's one more. I did the ending taxpayer subsidized based media. I did that one. And regulatory promote medicine. I did that. Rules and road truck drivers. Protecting American communities for criminal aliens. I think that's the last one. We're gonna actually move on. We're gonna talk some sports. I'm gonna look up the games for the WNBA real quick, and then give y'all, because I've been watching them. I've watched enough to actually give y'all who I think's gonna, I don't know all the girls' name, not dissing because y'all some beautiful women out there playing ball. I know how I go. I gotta watch even more just to get everybody's name. People from different countries, they hard to pronounce. I don't want to mess your names up. But it's how many games is today? It's 1, 2, 3 games today. It's the Los Angeles Aces versus the Golden State Valkyrie. The Aces are 4-2. The Valkyries 2-5. And Asia Wilson's still at the top of her game. She's leading her troops, leading her female soldiers out there at the highest level. So shout out to her. I think the Golden State Valkyrie is a new team. It's a what do you call them? This their first year being in the league, so it's tough. When they got a young group that's really nice and some veterans that they do I would call it fantasy draft, but they get the extra draft picks to pick their team from other teams that's already in the league. So they got a nice group, a lot of unknown names. They did beat some top teams already. They're 2-5. They probably could have won. They could have easily been 4-3 instead of 2-5, based off their schedule. I would say they could have been 5-2 instead of 2-5. That's how close those 3 games. So this is tough. They're at home. There's a good fan base out there in Oakland. I think not Oakland, but San Francisco now, and then Golden State Bridge is right across. You know how that goes. They both. Fans travel. It's a 15-minute ride across the bridge, and shout out to that team, both teams. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't know everybody's name, but I will be watching. I'll take my notes, my mental notes. I'll try to actually get some of y'all name on Golden State Valkyrie. I apologize, I couldn't look at the roster, but I would be being fake. Yeah, like I knew your because some of y'all was ballers in college. But it's hard to keep track of college and and women's because they put y'all on ESPN2 and they don't showcase y'all to the March Madness, and I don't even got I don't shout out to I used to watch ESPN all the time, not dissing Disney, but y'all need to put more games on ABC like y'all doing today. And I think the evening game is the Chicago Sky versus Indiana. Indiana has slid. They started out very hot. They're 3-4, so they had a little skid. I think they won their first 2 or 3 games, so they might be on a little 4-game losing streak. They won out of 3. They won. They were 3-1 at one point, I think. So they got a little skid. Basically, the league is pretty balanced. A lot of these teams have lost. I think Dallas is 1-8, but they could have easily been 4-5 or something like that. So, Los Angeles won last night. They got a game Monday, but I'm just looking at the schedule. Looking at their rate, their standings. Chicago Sky, the same thing. They can be 4-2 instead of 2-4, and they at home now. The first game of the year they got blown out by Indiana, which they got high powers. They're deep offensively. Indiana is very tough. They got a lot of superstars, young superstars. So I can't call them superstars. They got a lot of young stars. They got to earn that championship pedigree before you can be a superstar or prime time, display. Like they got Asia Wilson up here on the WNBA stage. Her picture blowed up. Champion, MVP, championship in college. All the decorations. She got a state statue out there in South Carolina. This is her own tennis shoe. I think Angel Reese just dropped her shoe with Reebok as well. So shout out to the youngest doing it. That's very hard feat to get. She's been highly touted, highly, influenced. She's on all the medias, and they replace. How the leagues be. They got to find the next superstar, next face of the league, and both of them have one got a primetime game. One got a Saturday prime time game, which is the weekend. Everybody should be able to watch it, even if you went to the beach early this morning. It's a good time frame at 3. If you're on the West Coast, it's 12. You still went to the beach. You still be on the beach watching the game. So I promote those females, and tonight is also a big game. Seattle versus Phoenix. I like both teams. Phoenix is 6-3, so they played the most games I think in the whole league, and they stayed on track. You know, Diana Taurasi just retired. Brittany Griner just went to another team. So they did a great job of putting the right pieces around. You know, they rebuilding and putting the right people in. I think Bonner had left. She went to another team, so they got a lot of young players. They draft well, clearly, and you know, and I'm glad they actually doing what they do. That's a very rich franchise in the WNBA. And same with Seattle. They got Diggins. Who else? The young. I want to actually watch that game. I want to see if the young center that they drafted number 2 in Dula K. I want to say it right. She's very nice, very solid star. Borderline Hall of Famer if she plays and win a couple more, 1 or 2, depending on how they want to rank her. She defensively, offensively, no weakness in her game. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be good to see. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a lot of good basketball for WNBA. They got a day off for the NBA next tomorrow's the game. It was a big game. How it ended. Tyrese stole on game on the road. Versus the number 1 team in the whole league. They come out with the same energy and tenacity and being able to finish the game like they've been doing the whole playoffs. It'd be hard for them if they go up 2-0 to not win the NBA Finals. So, I'll have that killer instinct, killer mentality. They just got to come out with that, and then we'll see how it go from there. I think that's pretty much it. We talked about the executive orders. I'm not really. I gotta watch the thing I want to watch because I'm still on education. I'm standing on education. So I know sports, and I know my ultimate goal is to combine the two, and to have my own center and to have multiple centers, and to make one of the biggest in the world with my centers. So, I'm really a young age of 30. Hopefully, I some way somehow I have groundbreaking, financial. I don't mind earning it in a low. Because if I gotta ask the government for it, clearly they want to create war somewhere else in the world instead of help people internally. But I don't have time to. I'm not in Ukraine or Russia. I'm not in none of these places that they want to sign $100 billion contracts and go over here and be in Asia's business and sell out over here and do this. And put everything in artificial intelligence, which is fake intelligence, and hopefully they see the realness in certain people and they come out here and help them type of people. And we get the right kind of administration in, and they see my goals and what needs to be happening. We can't be out here selling out to a robot, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and the last thing, I got to watch The Shy. It was the Mother's Day, episode. It was very, Mother's Day was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had came out. They wouldn't have went with the show, so I'm glad they put it out. It was very, it was very heartfelt. I like the way Shy goes, very serious, family, different scenarios, real life situations in those shows. It was a solid show. The first 3 episodes are really entertaining for The Shy. Um, you know, and I'm entertained. I'm still tuned in. Then I'm a big BMF fan. I love the way that show. That's like very entertaining. If you urban and you in the black culture, no, I don't want to say that basically let me put it like this. If you see how the rap industry is, Big Meech, he just got free. I think he still got his monitor, but that's the year pay your, he got to act like he's, a civilian and pay his way. But his son is very big in the entertainment, and he did his job as to keep what his father's goal was. He did a great job of putting his stamp and telling his father's story. So, and he do a great job acting because the first he got it. He got that. He actually a little bit more. When you got your mom's spirit, it only gets better. So you could tell that he put his little flair of how he probably is with the stories of his dad, and people told him something. His dad probably telling him a lot more. Cause the way he came out, you'd be like, dang, it's like a reincarnation probably. And it was a little bit more the way he came in, it was just more he did a good job of acting. Like he got it. He got it. It's there. It's like it's hard because people tell the stories. There's still enough artists around to tell his dad's story and to be like, dang, like I know they looked at that first episode was like, yeah, he got it. And his dad probably said, don't even sugarcoat it because I'm already free. Like, don't even play with it. I did my 20 years. Like, you feel me? So, and the person playing his uncle, and he did a great job as well of how they was like, yeah, we weren't all black. We ain't even going nowhere other. And he was like, in the way that he talked about them being, and basically his uncle got to leave Detroit how to end it. And he was already like, he already had a foothold on it. And, like you see how, their story basically is very public. So I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still haters out there, man. That man did 20 years, and his son's still in the industry, doing a great job. And they still a lot of paperwork they got to sign based off these $1 million contracts of telling their story. And they're very jealous of these people. And I want success. I want to see prosperity in their camp. You see how Rick Ross and 50 Cent don't like him. You know who told the story correctly. And I know which call appreciate that song. I see him jamming out. They got him that's real life, you know what I'm saying? That was a shout out, but I know they not, they probably not even too much on it, but the way the media works, they gonna make it a split. And I know how 50 Cent is. He ain't shit. Look, he ain't gonna be in the same room too often with him. So it's money, it's a lot of money to be made, and that's what Big Meech's really original plan is. You don't gotta like each other, but y'all gotta respect how everybody hustles is. That's the main thing about what BMF was formed on. He talked about it when he was at his highest point, and he probably still, like I said, son's pretty lit. So he didn't fall off. He just had to fall back a little bit, Let the people try to see how much they could get for free and hate. So, shout out to the BMF for real, man. I really appreciate that story. It's how it's not it ain't, some people might say it's proper way, but that's what the tools that they gave them to earn the most. So they could say what they want, and if you watch the these people was coming out in the early 80s, and they probably started off in the 70s when they were born, when they were young. They showed all that stuff in the first season, so they wasn't never half stepping when it come to respect. And you got to respect that. And when I talk, and they came from a 2-parent home, it wasn't like they was but it was still tough on the streets. They still put a lot of drugs on the street, and they got so the fact that he had to do 20 and his brother did what, 17, 16, whatever, they still did a lot of time for a whole bunch of their friends. And not everybody got away, but a lot of people did. And a lot of businesses were successful, and a lot of those businesses are now fully operational as legit businesses, and they put a lot of money in, billions of dollars in people's pockets that are black and brown. So you got to respect how they came at it. And some they fed everybody, so you can't diss that man at all. Like, he put a lot of information out without telling a lot. What I'm saying? They was celebrating the success. So no, shout out to that, man. I enjoyed the first episode. I enjoyed the first 3 seasons too. So, I think it's 3. It might be the third. I feel like, but I know hopefully they continue to tell a legit story. They could get to the point where they're making the movies with the dad, and they could be doing so much with that. He's younger than me. Like, yeah, like he's in his 20s. Like, he's in his prime as a young man. So, I can't hate on that camp at all. Like, his son did a great job. It was tough for him in the beginning because he was a young person when his dad went in, but a lot of people were able to tell him the gist of it, and he probably was a little green about what really went on until he got older, and he called, and the right person mentored him as an actor, and he's in the entertainment business. He didn't cut no corners because his acting skills is legit. Like, it's legit. He's living what it is. You know what I'm saying? So that was lit. I like that. And that's what the BMF was basically an entertainment group. That's what it was. They transformed it to that, and then they went and acted crazy like they couldn't celebrate what they already did 20 years ago as young people. So that's mainly what it, that's what the disagreement in the movie was. Big Meech, and he tell it in the documentary. He was like, "I'm trying to do entertainment. We can't do that what we did to earn all this money." And his brother was like, "I don't care what you say. I don't even want to talk on the phone no more. I'm still gotta earn my money and stay in our home area, on the East Coast and the Midwest, and well, it was the Midwest mostly, and he stayed in the Midwest. What you call it went down south, and that story's been told over and over in music and movies. These people played out what they was doing, and they knew a lot of industry people, so you know shout out to them. I was excited about the show, so I can't wait to see the next show. And yeah, and I think I might go see that ballerina movie tonight evening, depending on how I feel. I got a $6 movie up street from where I stay, so that's it for entertainment. And y'all got what y'all got. Go check out the young women if y'all can. It's 3 games on, like I was saying. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Y'all have a good day. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I'm your host, Ira Bush. And y'all see y'all Monday because we off on Sundays. Studios closed.